everyone, it is Melody again. This week I'm going to talk you through some technique tips and tricks that have helped me throughout the years. Alright, first thing first, we are going to find your natural rotation by me showing you how I find mine. So I will put my legs straight out in front of me, sitting up as straight as you can. And when I say pull up out of your hips and elongate your spine, it's literally that. So you're taking your core muscles and you're lifting yourself up out of your hips while pushing down through the top. Yeah, so you're pushing down, really you're pushing down like through your tailbone and then pulling up through the top of your head so that you feel space in between each vertebrae. Sometimes I'll say it's like if your vertebrae were Cheerios, yeah, and there's like little spaces of almond milk in between each one of those Cheerios so that you have a really, you can feel a visible cushion in between each little section of your spine. So there we are, sitting straight up and tall, and you want to feel your sits bones, so they're the little bottom part, right, you're sitting on them at all times. Yeah, I've got some squish over mine, it feels kind of good. So sitting straight up on those sits bones, elongated spine out of your hips, you're going to relax your legs open, yeah? Nice and relaxed so your knees can be slightly bent. And that is how you find your natural rotation. Wherever your legs can naturally open to from the top is where you should begin working with your first position. So for me, it's about there, yeah? I am not 180 degrees turned out. It's more like a large slice of pizza. If yours is more like a small slice of pizza, that is okay. You can improve it over time. And one of the ways that you can improve it is sitting just like this and opening from the top and then bringing it back to parallel. Opening from the top and bringing it back to parallel. Opening and closing and opening and closing. And you should feel as you open those legs from the top of your thighs, you should feel the muscles underneath your booty engage and almost lift you up out of the ground, and then they come back down as you relax back to your parallel. You open and they lift, and then you pull it back to parallel. Yeah, so that's how I find my natural rotation. Once I find it, I'm going to stand up so you may lose my head. Once I find it, I'll stand and do the same kind of thing. So I open my hips from the top. And then as you plie, I look for, like if you were in my class, I would go around and look for your knees shooting right over your big toe and your second toe. So here I am, yeah. You push so that those knees are right over toes and then bring it back to straight. If I try to force my rotation from my ankles and knees, my knees pull forward over my toes, putting a strain on all of these tendons in my ankle and knee and lower back and hips. That's bad. We don't want that. So we want it to go straight over your toes and then pull straight back up. That being said, let's keep working through plie. As you plie, you want your tailbone to reach straight down and then come straight back up. Because our spine is naturally an S-shaped curve, it can feel natural to go here, yeah, and then pull it back up, but that's not what you want to do. I like to think of myself, as if I'm smashed between two doors, yeah, so if I'm here, and then I go straight down without touching the doors, and then straight back up, if that makes sense. So you want to like hover the whole way down, and then hover the whole way up. With a grand plie, for example, you would have your shoulders down over your hips, pulling that tailbone down straight, and then holding that placement with the muscles, your glutes, and then all of those underneath your thigh muscles. You want to lift up the whole time you're pulling straight down. So here you are, stuck between two imaginary doors, hovering, and then push down the whole time you're pulling back up. Yeah? So you're hovering, 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 straight, straight, down, hovering, 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 pulling back up. that makes sense. So nothing touches, spine stays elongated, working from your natural rotation, even if that is here. And if that is here, that's okay. You want to feel the work happening from underneath your booty and your inner thighs, not so much your lower back, quadriceps. That is going to work, but not in the same way. So that gets us through finding our natural rotation. Yeah, so you're open and close, open and close. Feet. So while we're on the bottom half of our body, I like to work with TheraBands, which I didn't bring today, not a smart choice, but you can do it with anything that is stretchy. And the reason I like them is because you get a full range of motion. So if you're pulling your TheraBands back on the balls of your feet, then you push all the way through and pull all the way back. You get that even resistance all the way forward and all the way back, which will strengthen your full foot, and that is necessary for a correct line. The whole point of where our feet point and how is to finish off a straight line. So if I am, I'll show you my right foot, it's a little better. If I am reaching forward, yeah, I would want to have my toes dropped and my heel lifted so that the line from my femur all the way down my shin extends infinitely forever. Yeah? When I say don't sickle your feet or you don't want to have a brick at the end of your leg, what I mean is don't break up that line. And naturally, a lot of people's feet feel the most secure and pointed about here, but that is slightly sickled for ballet. So an exercise that you can do that improves the flexibility in your ankles and will get you used to holding, not a winged foot, but a correctly placed foot, is you just hold your leg out and you gently push your toes, like your pinky toe, down, 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 instead of this way, yeah? You want to strengthen the outside of your ankle while getting the inside more flexible so you have that continual line. You also don't want to crunch your toes. Like my foot looks much better if I kind of tuck my big toe and then I point it that way, but it's incorrect and it can also cramp your feet. Your toes have the same energy and the same integrity of everything else, yeah? It's part of your body, so you have to use it. Don't squish your line. It would be like if you had a beautiful arabesque and your fingers were in a fist, yeah? You don't want to do that. You want it to extend infinitely forever. It's just like in Beauty and the Beast. My daughter watched this yesterday. She said it was scary, is what she said, the monster movie. But when the Prince Charming busts out of the beast at the end, that's the feeling you should have all through class. So infinite light and energy shooting out of your fingers and toes into space forever. And you're practicing, here you are, working on your natural rotation, yes, and you could even do it while you're right here. So if you're opening and closing, you open and close, pulse your feet out. Open and close, pulse your feet out. Open and close, pulse those feet out. Open and close. This on my body makes it so apparent that my right foot is better than my left. Let's work on that. We want to be even, yeah? So pulsing those little feet out will help. Another thing that helps is just drawing circles with your feet, getting that full range, yeah? It'll stretch out any tightness you have on the inside of that ankle because it's not bad to sickle for stretching purposes. It's just never a line that you want in ballet. Occasionally you'll have it in like Gaga or contemporary or something where things are a specific shape for a reason. In ballet, for my class, I don't want to see a sickled foot. I'll call you out. So I like it nice and infinite forever. Let's talk about the center of our body. So I like to think about my core being the storage for all the kinetic energy in my body. So I'm storing all of my energy here, and then you get to control how it's used. So it's almost like your little battery pack, and then you save and you let some out. But it's very deliberate, yeah? and then you pull it back into where it goes. So that core holds all of your energy, and you don't want to open it up by either having arms behind you or legs behind you in second position, for instance. You want to keep all of that energy and all of that power to yourself so that you choose how it gets used. So it's important to think about, like I know I always say, pull your belly button to the base of your spine. Yeah, I'll show you from this way so you can see. So this is my spine, like kind of relaxed, yeah? An S-shaped curve for sure. I am never going to have a straight line right here, but I can straighten my line out here. So pull that belly button to the base of your spine, yeah? So automatically I feel a stretch in the front of my hips. I close my rib cage, so I don't want to let that power source out or stretch it out like a gymnast. I keep it nice and closed so it's all really controlled. I exhale, so I have maximum power here. Shoulders roll down and back, so my shoulder blades are really plugged in. And the visual I personally see for that, it's like Black Swan, where Mila Kunis has the tattoos on her back, the like big creepy wing tattoos. I love those, by the way. That feeling of it rolling down and back, and that movie is the perfect visual for roll them down and back, yeah? So down and back, keeping them closed, keeping that rib cage closed, powerhouse intact, spine nice and straight so that you can choose where your energy gets used. Another thing that will help you is breath. So breath is a way that you can use your diaphragm and activate your core without thinking, hold my center, hold my center, hold my center. You just exhale and it naturally happens. So for me, every time I plie in class, which is a lot, I try to breathe out. The breathing in happens more naturally. I'm not going to let myself choke out and croak in the middle of class, but I might, if I'm thinking too hard, just breathe in and then never breathe out again until the heart combination is over, and then at the end I'm like, yeah. So I don't want to do that though. It's better if you can just breathe throughout class. One, because your brain and your muscles need oxygen, you also need it to survive, and it teaches you to contract your diaphragm and use those core muscles without overthinking it. Speaking of overthinking it, that is another, that's like the #1 killer of everything, and dance is no exception. In acting class, it would always really help me. I was somebody who liked to have like a plastic chip or something, like a guitar pick in my pocket or something to fidget with, and it would help me be a more natural actor on camera instead of teleprompter lady like I can definitely resort to. I've done it a million times. I hope I don't do that on here. I have no script or teleprompter. I don't know, thinking about it makes me all insecure. I wish I had my guitar pick right now. But anyway, it helps to take your mind off of the doubting yourself or overthinking what it is that you're doing. So for me, in dance, I will purposely, before a combination starts happening, I will envision myself in a totally different place. For arabesque, for instance, every time I do arabesque, I envision tasty fruit on a tree. I love fruit, and it gives me something to actually reach for. Yeah, so like if I love peaches and they're in season right now. So if I was reaching for the best peach and it was just the perfect eye level, but just out of my reach and I want it really, really bad, that gives me a good visual so that I'm not thinking, not completely thinking anyway, shoulder down over hip, hip pulled forward so I'm not in second best, core closed, tummy in, booty up. Yeah, so it takes the, and it also helps me if I'm at bar with a bunch of other people be like, oh my God, her leg's so high and gorgeous, what am I even doing here? It helps take all of that dialogue out of my head if I just see a peach on a tree that I want to pick and eat. Yeah? With your hands, I like to pretend like I just painted my nails and they're wet, so I would not be washing dishes with these hands, yeah? I would not be planting potatoes with these hands. You're getting maximum airflow through your fingers. And the reason that your fingers are important is the same reason that your feet are important. It's about completing the line. So the line of your arm should be nice and supported from underneath, exactly like your legs. So it's held from your center, supported from under your back. Elbows stay higher than your fingertips so that you don't get a sad little chicken wing. Yeah, it's lifted from underneath, and then your fingers complete that line. You don't want to have thumbs hanging out. That's a bad habit of mine, but it disrupts the picture. It's like a little, you're like the Hamburglar, yeah? Here you are dancing, but you're also holding a sandwich. Not that, I mean, that'd be cool. I would like a sandwich right now. But I don't want to see your sandwich unless it's real and you're bringing it to me to eat. So I want nice, continual lines in those fingers to match the rest of it. It only makes sense. So wet fingernail polish, a really common place to hold tension is your fingers and your shoulders, yeah? And then you end up dancing like T-Rex. I know you've probably all seen those videos. But you don't want to actually be T-Rex in human form. You want to just be a graceful human in human form. So relax your shoulders. Creepy black swan tattoo, yeah? And wet fingernail polish so that they get maximum airflow all the time. And reach for those peaches on a tree, yeah? With your head, we're like working our way kind of from the bottom to the top. The rule is, unless otherwise noted, your head follows your hand. Unless otherwise noted is important, because if you are in someone's class and they say, I want your head to the left, put your head to the left and don't say, well, I saw on YouTube one time that my head is always supposed to follow my hand. Don't say that. If you don't know what to do with your head, or it wasn't specified what you should do with your head, your safe bet is to follow your hand. And again, it's about completing the line, so that everything is a complete picture with complete lines from the top of your head through the tips of your fingers all the way through the tips of your toes, while storing that powerhouse in your center. And the whole thing that makes ballet look graceful and controlled is the strength of your muscles. And you have to use them to really pull up out of your center, or out of everything. So you're using every single muscle in your body. The muscles in your feet are pulling up out of your toe joints, so that eventually you can do point without the weight of your body crashing down on your little toes. So your feet are pulling up out of your toes. Your calves and all the muscles surrounding your shins are pulling you up out of your ankles, so that your ankles have the space and mobility to release that foot and let it not be sickled, yeah? And also to support the weight of your body. You also don't want the entire weight of your body crashing down on your little ankles. Your thighs, yeah, your hamstrings, your quadriceps, they are pulling you up out of your knee, and the purpose is to protect your knee. We want to elongate those tendons while strengthening our muscles so that our knee can work freely and have space to bend and contract as it needs to. Your entire body and your entire powerhouse is pulling you up out of your hips. Your hips are so essential in ballet, maintaining the rotation, working within the full range of that ball and socket joint, yeah? So when your leg is to the front, you're engaging that psoas and you're really lifting from underneath. When your leg is to the side, which is slightly in front of you, unless you are naturally 180 degrees turned out, you can be supported from underneath and have the space in that hip then to push the ball over the top of your hip to arabesque. And arabesque, now your leg is still plugged into the socket and rotated from underneath, but all of the flexibility and the height of arabesque is coming from the flexibility of your back. So if you want to improve your arabesque, you need to start doing back stretches. You can do back ups from your tummy, you can push through cobra, you can do back bends in yoga. That will really, really help you, but it's all about your back in arabesque. So what did we cover? We covered feet, we covered spine, straight as possible at all times. We covered powerhouse, that's where you store all of your kinetic energy. Shoulders are down and back like creepy black swan tattoo. Fingers, you have wet nail polish for maximum airflow. Head, unless otherwise noted, follows your hand just to complete that line. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm sure more things are going to come to me as I'm leaving the studio and not shooting anymore, but who's to say this is the last tips video. If you have questions or you would like to know something else and see like how I would think it through, like maybe my style of teaching clicks with you, I would love to know about it. This is something I love doing. So I want to hear what you think. You can leave it in the comments below, or you can email it to me directly at melody@ballet24.com. Either way, I'll get back to you. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, as always, click like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all next week.